Tonight, we are taking a closer look at the deadly plane crash on a runway in Japan today. At least 5 people are dead after a Japan Airlines plane collided with a Coast Guard aircraft. The Coast Guard plane was carrying relief supplies to earthquake victims on Japan's northwest coast. Somehow, all 379 passengers and crew members on the commercial plane were safely evacuated, but 5 members of the Japanese Coast Guard crew were killed. Joining me tonight is retired pilot and CEO of Aero consulting experts, Ross Amer. Ross, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure, Shanna.
So, can you help us understand from the beginning what exactly happened here? Was the commercial plane landing and the crash happened while it was landing, or was the Coast Guard plane in motion at the time?
From what we understand, the JAL Airbus 350 was on touchdown, basically landing, and the Coast Guard was supposed to take off. I'm not going to speculate on this because we're going to find out exactly what happened, whose fault it was. But the most amazing thing in my 60 years in commercial aviation was how fast and efficient they evacuated over 350 passengers in an inferno.
Sure. I mean, even on their way down while they were landing, we are hearing reports from some of those passengers who described chaos, not understanding what was happening, seeing flames. So what do we know about this? How do you go from that happening in such a chaotic, fast moment to everyone getting off that plane?
Well, this is a testament to the training and professionalism of the JAL flight crew, especially the flight attendants. I'm afraid if this had happened in the West, or especially in our country, the outcome would have been completely different. If you remember, there was a similar, this was on takeoff a few years ago, a 777 British Airways taken off from Las Vegas, and engine caught fire. It took 9 minutes to take the passengers off. You know, we don't listen to our flight attendants, unfortunately. We obviously arguing with them instead of listening to what they say, which could save our lives. Whereas I think I attribute this to the Japanese culture, where they are respectful of everybody. They're watching their neighbors, what they're doing. So this was an amazing rescue. I don't believe in miracles, but this is going to make me believe in miracles.
Yeah, I think we've all seen in recent years the countless viral videos from planes, issues with passengers. Is it just that? I mean, do Japanese airlines have a better system in any other way, or is it just as simple as they're more respectful of their flight attendants and listen to them?
It's definitely the latter. You know, they have the same equipment as we have. They do the same training, except you've been on airplanes where folks, when the flight attendants are making that crucial announcements, they're either talking to each other, looking at their cell phones, or reading a newspaper. They're totally disregarding. Like, I don't need to hear that stuff from flight attendants, and that someday will save your life and somebody else's.
You know, without speculating on what happened there in Japan, we have been hearing more and more lately here in the U.S. about close calls on our runways. The New York Times did a lot of reporting in the past few months about this. Is this an issue that you think is getting enough attention? Do you think people realize the risk?
Yes, the aviation community is sadly they're cognizant of what's happening. There's a lot of new pilots. There are a lot of new air traffic controllers. We're very short-staffed when it comes to air traffic controllers. So all of these are yellow lights, yellow caution lights that we're looking at. And we've been warning, the aviation community has been warning the FAA and others to hopefully do something about it. And this was a wake-up call, I would say, of what could happen. Again, I'm not going to get into what caused this accident, but this could have happened any day in any of our airports.
Are there any other takeaways for you as someone in the aviation industry, and even for passengers, people who fly, looking at this? Are there any other takeaways that we should be getting from this going forward?
Absolutely. Again, you know, when you fly as a passenger, I fly as a passenger. I cringe when I see people absolutely disregarding safety information. That safety information is, again, what will save your life one of these days. And we don't listen. We, instead of listening to the flight attendants, we argue with them. We're disrespectful. And you've seen all those things that are happening every day in the airports around this country.
Yeah, I know I've been guilty of that myself, not paying full attention on the phone or something before takeoff, but really gives you a pause here and maybe inspiration to behave differently going forward. Ross
You
Amer.
know,
Yeah, sorry.
we plead with passengers, for example, to keep your seatbelts on when you're seated. And we see when there's a sudden turbulence and people end up in the ceiling, that's a good reason.
Yeah. All right. Great information to take forward. Ross Amer, CEO of Aero Consulting Experts. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Shanna.